someone in your same action is going to call you bossy in a negative way. Someone in your same action is going to call you bossy in a positive way. So I've decided I'm going to call myself bossy, and I've decided that the meaning is this.
You are you, and someone called you bossy. You will be called many things in your life by others and by yourself. The most important thing to remember is you get to decide what you want to stick, and you get to decide what you want to let go.
So it's like
Yes.
using that term and not in a derogatory way. I think it's also what this podcast is exploring is like
Yes.
this term and what are all of the facets of it.
You're also just a boss. It's like
I'm a literal boss
Yeah.
and also
and also probably bossy. Welcome to Hello, I'm Bossy. And today we have Katie Anderson with us, who I am so thrilled to have.
Mhm.
And some things that I didn't know about you. So I knew that you founded Save Water Company
Yes.
Co.
Yes.
I didn't know you were 29
When
when
I
you
did
did that. Most people at 29 are still thinking about what they're going to maybe do, and you just jumped in and you did it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was 29 going on 50. If anything, as I've aged myself toward 50, I'm like, well, hold on, what about my 20s? Can we live our 20s?
But that's remarkable.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, in hindsight, I'm very proud of myself. I look back at my 29-year-old and I just give her a big old hug. I'm like, you courageous thing. Like, I love
Yeah.
you. I just There was so much stacked against me at that time from all kinds of directions. And for me to have the courage to just go ahead and do it, I'm really proud of her. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Just gives
No,
me a moment to reflect.
it is remarkable. And then I didn't know that you were Forbes magazine 30 under 30 leading game changer. I did
I'm the
not
world's
know
most unassuming
this.
human here. You don't even know these things about me. So I feel like we're starting off on the right foot.
Well, at least talking about, and then I did know that you won the Cartier Women's Initiative for North America. I did know this piece, which is also very impressive because they are very impressive women who are doing these like great things. I think at 29, trying to remember 29. It's hard to remember 29 now.
Podcast go when I was 29.
Yeah, maybe that should be the new one that we do. I think I was still thinking that maybe I'd be a barista like my whole life or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I was an English major, which is nothing. I mean, I love my
Do some
barista.
great English things in a barista. I mean, coffee shops, you think about it from metaphor and English really go together.
They
So
do.
you weren't
They
too far,
do.
even though they
No,
look.
I wasn't. And then again, life takes a turn and then you end up doing different things and you're not, you know, serving coffee and writing in your journal like all day. But I think that's what
Don't
I
be
was
serious
doing at
about
29.
that, by the way.
What?
Like a life of making great coffee and writing in a journal.
I
I
know.
mean,
I know.
that's
It
not
wasn't bad. It wasn't
no,
bad, to be honest.
pretty solid life path.
Yeah, I know. I hugged my 29-year-old self too, but a little differently than that. And so those things are amazing. And then on top of it, what you've just done saving water, they were saying like 4 billion gallons of water or something like
Yeah,
this.
I
Maybe
think
it's more
yeah,
now.
I think we're at like 40 billion gallons of water at this.
Oh, okay.
I actually feel like I've retired myself from needing to make any additional impact the last time I looked at the impact numbers because they were pretty significant. So if my
Yeah.
sole purpose was to create and drive impact numbers, I remember looking at the last set and go, I could retire. I feel good about this. What
It's
now that I'm
really
retired, what would I do in my next era of life?
well, so that leads me to a couple points that I want to talk about with you today because you were past tense CEO of your company, which
Uh-huh.
is something that a lot of people aspire to be CEO of their own
Yeah, my
company.
29-year-old self had it in the forefront. I mean, that
Yeah.
was the goal.
And that is very bossy in like all the senses of the word, right? This 29-year-old self who's CEO of their own company is like, you're also just a boss. It's like,
I'm
this
a
is like,
literal boss
yeah,
and also
and also probably bossy, because you figured all of these pieces out about what you wanted to do, which is hard to do. And then you did them, which is also hard to do. And then you did them well, which is also very hard to do. Um, but then you just kind of,
disassembled it.
there we go. Yes, which is maybe the ultimate bossy thing to do. But you did. Can you talk about that
Yeah,
a little bit?
I wanna ask you a question though before I get
Yeah.
started, is how do you interpret bossy?
So
So
that's
you're
a
looking at
great,
what I've done and you're going, that's a bossy move. And so what I'd love to know is yeah, what how do you interpret
that's a
bossy?
good question. So obviously, this whole podcast started with my daughter being called bossy by her teacher, which made me upset because I was like, that is asinine and antiquated. And like, why is it, well, like I said, 2025 and we're still using that term, right? So I was
Well, in a
upset.
derogatory way,
It was
right?
also in a derogatory
Right. So
way.
it's like
Yes.
using that term and not in a derogatory way. I think it's also what this podcast is exploring is like
Yes.
this term and all what are all of the facets of it. So anyway,
Yeah.
please go.
No. And so then after talking to a few people about it, you being one of them, and I came to see it was more this like connotation that we put on the word, and ladened it with all of these things that it did not. Okay, I'm going to read the text you sent because it is so good. You said to switch it back to you. The other thing I would say to your daughter is you are you and someone called you bossy. You will be called many things in your life by others and by yourself. The most important thing to remember is you get to decide what you want to stick and you get to decide what you want to let go of. And the coolest gift of all is you get to decide what any word actually means. You create your own meaning. And then in typical Katie fashion, you said, it's like, who is this Webster guy anyway? And who gave him ultimate power of meaning? Which is when it then took the Katie turn. Um, but
I
the
slide my wisdom in there and then give it a little
and
laughter.
then a little kick. Yeah, it's like the Texan in you or something, right? Aren't you from Texas?
I am from Texas.
Yeah.
My hometown is 165 people.
Wait, what? Really?
I grew up in a town of 165 people.
I was waiting for like 165, like at least like,
How's it? No, people. Solid. I live down an 8 mile dirt road.
that is okay. So we're gonna get to this. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So I interpret, so we're rambling. This is today's podcast. So then I came to see that it means so many other things
That's
besides
what
what
it is.
we
Yeah,
come to think of it as, like
that's
knowing yourself and having leadership and thinking enough of yourself to speak up for yourself, to speak up for others too when needed, which is actually what my daughter was doing, was talking about telling someone that it was like snack time or something, right? Which I guess is bossy. I don't know. Um, but it's like looking out for other people too. And sometimes speaking for them, in one of the other podcasts, someone said, a lot of times when you are the boss, you enter a room and people expect you to also speak for them because you are the boss, right? Which is very bossy, right? And but it's also, this is owning that you're in that position. So I came to see it as this totally different piece that we can use as a weapon or as this like beautiful way to describe someone.
that's right. I mean, you're pointing to, the word leadership got brought up the other day. And what I pointed to was the multifacets of this one word. So I think common trend that we have as a society is that we have a word, it has one definition, and then therefore one particular meaning, one particular lens. And, with my Webster comment, it's to, our imaginations are so strong. And how dare we limit ourselves to one particular perspective or one particular meaning of anything?
Yeah.
If I have unbridled creativity, then it's my ultimate duty to look at this one word and try to see as many facets and as many perspectives and as many meanings as possible, while attaching to those and also detaching from those. So I may call myself an entrepreneur. And I think what's most important is that deep down, I have also detached from that word meaning anything about me, though I may use it in context with myself to ultimately describe to someone or something about particular actions or things that I do in this world.
Yeah.
So that's really what the meaning of the message was saying to your daughter, is just to remember that these, not only will people call you things, you will also call yourself things, and have, our opportunity is to explore what we call ourselves and what others call us, um, in thoroughness. And then we ultimately get to decide what we want to keep, what we don't want to keep, and also what that meaning is. I can create my own meaning of bossy. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the beauty of freedom. If there's one series of freedom, it's this particular piece. It's perspective, it's imagination, it's creativity with meaning. Who am I and what am I amidst this word bossy? What, even within this one word, I'm bossy, I could sit here and draw out particular pieces of me that maybe I would approach from a negative stance of the word, like, oh, I do this, and so that's negative. And
Hmm.
then over here, I can sit here and say, oh, I'm bossy, and here are all of these positive pieces. So even with
Yeah.
the one word, it's like I have this ability to perceive myself in both a positive and a negative light, as will others.
And going back to this, one piece that you decided not to keep for yourself was CEO.
And that's right. I'm done.
You are done. Okay. So let's go on this journey together for this. What led to you stepping away from this position?
It's not one thing that's happened. I think I'm turning 40 at the end of the month. So it's been 11 years of embodying this label. And it's been a journey. There hasn't been one thing. I think it's been 11 years of direct experience of living within that label, both of my own expectations and of others' expectations of that label. I remember once I was sitting there and I thought, what is the definition of CEO? Like, what is the definition? I looked it up and I remember reading the definition and I said, I'm not even good at this. Like, this definition, if this is the definition of CEO, like, I am not great. This is not me. I do not, this is, I would like to get rid of it. And
Yeah.
so ultimately, as I've aged, thank goodness I do love aging, because there's so many beautiful things that go with aging. One of which, my ableness and willingness to realize all the things I've just said to you, that, being CEO really meant something to me when I was 29, and
Mhm.
going into my 40, I realized, like, CEO or no CEO, the most important part of my life is realizing me,
Yeah.
and realizing me within that. This is to prove this out. I use a story. There was a workshop I was in. I walked across the room in this workshop. This guy approaches me and he says, oh my gosh, Katie, you have such great energy. I just watched you walk across the room. It's like you're bounding. I felt excited. I felt energized. Like, I love being in a room with you. And I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, that's pretty great feedback.
Yeah.
Kid
For
you not.
walking.
Wait, kid you not, 5 minutes later, second person approaches me, says, Katie, man, I saw you walking across the room earlier, and like, you were just so forceful. Like, I saw myself stepping back because you were so forceful in your walk. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. One happening, I just walked across a room.
Yeah.
Two completely different experiences of the one happening. And then I'm going, did I walk across the room? I don't even know if I remember walking across the room. So then there goes my own experience of
Yeah.
this feedback's coming into me. I love that happening because it's helped me have a a grounding rod as things are coming at me in the world to know the bigger truth, which is what I express in that message to your daughter. At the
Mhm.
end of it all, you are you. Someone in your same action is going to call you bossy in a negative way. Someone in your same action is going to call you bossy in a positive way.
Mhm.
Notice which one you may want to gravitate toward. And then ultimately, the gift is to realize all of that is outside of you, and you get to decide, did you walk across the room? If you did walk across the room, what's your own perspective of yourself walking across the
Yeah.
room? Did you have fun? Did you not have fun? That coming home to inside yourself, I feel like, is the most important piece of that, even beyond your own labeling of you. So I've decided I'm going to call myself bossy, and I've decided that the meaning is this. It's to realize that in doing that, there's still a place in me where even if I choose it, I am not it.
Yeah.
I am always me.
So what, so being a CEO defined you at 29, at least in part.
Many ways, yes.
And
So
then what does now?
I just, well, right now I'm considering new life options. Might be barista writing in a coffee shop for the
And
time.
you should definitely do that because at least everyone at some point in their life should go down that path because it is wonderful and you meet great people.
Great
And
people.
some people that you're like, today you're going to get decaf instead of regular, right? Because you're that person. But
I'll give a couple of examples of what being a CEO that ultimately for me felt unsatisfying. The easiest one I can give that I feel most will understand or have direct experience with is pay rates. So, in typical fashion of companies, in order for you to understand how much money you're going to make, there's an authority figure. Now, each company has their own pathway for which you get to know how much money you're going to make. Sometimes you have a boss. Sometimes you have a boss. Sometimes there's annual reviews. Sometimes that annual review has a series of questions. Sometimes that annual review includes going to your coworkers and asking their opinions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I hated it. I hated the idea. I mean, one of the reasons I even became my own boss was I hated the idea and also had direct experience with a previous set of bosses that did not treat me so well in this arena. And I went above and beyond all the time. And I realized that here I am going above and beyond. And at the end of the day, it doesn't ultimately matter. Someone else has authority over my personal life,
yeah,
period. And it's subjective because,
yeah,
again, going back to I walked across the room. Well, I walked across the room. This person thought it was great. This person thought it was terrible. So I turn in a report. This boss thinks it's amazing. This boss thinks it's terrible. How do we navigate what we consider our life source, money,
right.
against that? That's chaos. That is asinine. That's
Yeah,
asinine to
yeah,
me. Now, as a CEO, I really prided myself in my awareness of this and also my want to provide a different kind of environment for employees. So I had been an employee, I had been treated a certain way. And one of the gifts of becoming my own boss was now I get to choose how employees are created within a working environment. And man, did I spend 11 years trying my hardest to create an environment that I felt was equal, just, opportunistic, and ultimately kept what I see out there in the world sort of this um, hierarchical, um, I'd say who's club of corporate environments from impacting individuals so that an individual really does stand the chance of being their most unique self and having the greatest potential that they can. So back to the salaries, I hated being the person that was supposed to tell somebody else you're valid, you're seen, you're heard.
yeah,
Because ultimately at the end of the day, the money is not you. So now we're back to again that core issue of if my salary is this, then that means XYZ about me. If I'm a barista versus a CEO, that means XYZ about me. I mean, the fact that we operate in a society that tells us that if we were labeled or our bank accounts looked like this, then we would be more lovable, more acceptable, more important, more unique, more impactful
Yeah.
is asinine.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I left being an employee to become an employer because I thought I could solve a lot of problems. What I didn't realize was that I did solve those problems, but then came on a whole slew of new ones. And where I found it troubling was how to navigate myself amidst all of these roles, labels, and constructs that ultimately I wasn't even here when they were created. I
Yeah.
sort of was born and then I just stepped into them. So no matter how much I told a person, I appreciate you, you're seen, you're valued, you're et cetera, what I realized was that until that person is willing to see themselves, value themselves, and hear themselves, there was nothing I could do that was going to make or break that. Ultimately, I exhausted myself in wanting and wishing for someone else to love themselves. It was a big life lesson for me, realizing that I ultimately cannot create someone's happiness. And it doesn't matter how great of an environment I create until that person decides. It's just not an
Yeah.
option. So, one of the first things I did was in exploration of how do we get out of this dynamic with one another? Because the moment I became a boss and somebody else became my employee, we entered into this construct. And I just couldn't get out of it. It didn't matter how much I got out of it. At the end of the day, I was perceived a certain way, and there was no getting out of it. And the truth is about behind my disassembling of the construct in my companies was that it felt like the only way I could get out of the construct. It was the only way that I could be Katie again. It was the only way that I could potentially enter a room and someone simply see me for me and not for all of who they think I am, authority over, under, etc. I went as far as even in my own companies, nobody, each employee named their own salary.
Oh,
Sure did. I got rid of all managers. There were no managers in the company. I got rid of all managers. You were the boss of yourself. I got rid of all managerial or authoritative salary uh, reviews, processes, etc. So you were in charge of how much money you were supposed to make. All you had to do was call me. That's all you had to do. My job was just to put it into the system. So if you called me and said my salary should be XYZ, I just put it into the system. And
wow.
when I brought this up, some of my executives at the time were like, well, would you just like one of us to do it? And I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm also not interested in living a life where just because I don't like something, I just hire somebody else to do it. Because for me, I'm aware it's happening. So if I don't like it and I'm the boss of my own life and I know that this is a piece that I don't like, I'm not able to go to bed at night knowing that maybe I'm still making some money, but it's still happening in my
Yeah.
field. So that's just one example of a slew of examples of problems I see as the employer-employee relationship that I just I think I just shifted, okay, if I can't be a boss of an environment, and then what does it look like to simply just become the boss of me? And looking for others who are also interested in being the boss of themselves. So Catherine's not calling Katie to say, hey, what time do I need to be at work today? It's like Catherine's not calling Katie to say, hey, did you see what I did yesterday? Do you think I could get a raise in the next 6 months?
Yeah.
Catherine's not calling Katie to say, hey, could we change my title to director of? Like, Catherine's just calling Katie.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what are you doing today? Do you want to do some collaborative work this afternoon? I've got this idea. Let's do it. I'm in.
Yeah.
So it's not that my life as CEO is over. It's just that my role within CEO has completely shifted. So I am now CEO, except that I'm only CEO of myself, and I don't actually wish to be CEO over anyone else.
Hmm.
And my call out to the world is like, hey, I'm doing this. Anyone else interested? May not be. A lot of people love being CEO over something or someone else, and to each their own. I just personally, after 11 years, felt like we're all adults. Surely we can act that way. Surely we can take responsibility for ourselves. Surely we can see ourselves, hear ourselves, understand ourselves, value ourselves. And then a group of independents like that coming together to create something, holy moly. Think about all the energy that would get freed up from the struggle that we have with others by simply just owning ourselves. And then those that have owned themselves coming into a room and all of that energy freed up to like really create something like that's interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
That is, I never thought of it as, and I never thought of a business running in that
Mm.
way before. And you making everyone the boss of themselves. And I think that there is so much satisfaction that comes from feeling in charge of your own life, which you kind of like gave people that gift a little bit of
Yeah.
like
Give them the
of at
opportunity.
least
Sure.
learning to do it in one area. And if you can learn to do it in one area, maybe you can learn to do it in more. Um, and that's like I think the most it's like a gift you kind of gave, not just people deciding their own salaries, but people kind of getting to decide their own life.
Because I love it at one point, and the only rule I had was that the moment I called to first say this, I would not let them get off the phone with me before they said it. Because I know the truth. The moment they get off the phone, they go talk to spouses, they go talk to aunts and uncles, they read a book, they do some Google research, and all of a sudden, the the unique prime opportunity for intuition to take the front seat
Yeah.
gets dismissed. And then here we are. Well, market research says, I'm like, I'm so bored. I'm so bored. I want to know what instantaneously wants to come out of you,
Yeah.
not what market research says, not what your aunt and uncle says, not what your spouse says. That's the boring part. What
Yeah.
we don't know, and it could be completely brand new and unique, is I ask a question and then something, boom, pops up and you're willing to say it. And then from there, we ride together. Like to me, that is what I would call the new boss, the one who's willing to do that, not the one who's willing to read the books, look at other companies, look at what so and so taught them or told them, and then act a certain way. I'm like, you look just like everyone else. You're acting just like everyone else. That's boring. It just feels boring. It's predictable.
Yeah.
We're just going to continue with each other the same way for the next 500,000 years. Like, I just, it was funny too, because I remember my 29-year-old self and I would have given anything to create what I did. And so as I was starting to disassemble it, there were so many moments of, am I really doing this?
Yeah. I can
Because
imagine.
I'm successful. I've got people who work for me. I've got people who want to work for me. I mean, goodness, I can pick up a phone and tell somebody to do something and they're off and running and doing it. It's like wild how we find power in that and value in that. And so to realize that and then be willing to just lay it down, I'm probably still reverberating a little bit from the actions that I've made.
I think that you are probably one of the ultimate examples of bossy in this, in the moment that you did lay it all down, real because you like owning yourself so much at that moment and like valuing yourself and who
Hmm.
you wanted to see yourself as, like the life you wanted to live and choosing that over all of the societal and even things that we buy into that you've reached this ultimate position, but
Hmm.
then realizing like the ultimate position is really just choosing and what makes you really happy.
Sometimes I feel like it's like what I became successful at was living what someone else thought I could be. Like that's really what I was a boss of that. So much so that I created all this success, won these awards, etc. It's like check. check. And now what?
Yeah.
Just more of that, just more employees, more people, more money. What, I buy more things, then we have more things, and then I own these things. I mean, one day I'm going to take my last breath, and then all of that just completely goes away.
Yeah.
Just the way I think if anything, I'm exploring more these days, how valuable could a life be where I choose a barista and to write every single day?
Yeah.
How can we, somebody mentioned to me the other day about a janitor. It's like, why are we not speaking about the importance and the value of janitorial work? I
Yeah.
mean, it's like, what happened when we decided that power over was the success summit? Like, and then we're proud of that.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like, why can't we all, there's so much to share. I mean, that was the other part. This was also what I have no partners in my company. So I owned 100% of my companies, and
Right.
they're all debt free. So what I realized over 11 years was I was this young, to Minnie's perspective, wealthy person. I could go and do whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And I was completely alone because nobody, if anybody my age, it's either they had families, they only had 2 weeks of vacation, or financially just
Right.
taking a
Right.
vacation like that is
Right.
just not an option. And so the other question I had was, is this really what I want? To create a power footprint and financials and money, um, alone. Like, how much more satisfying would it be if Catherine was like right next to me, also just making decisions for herself and
Yeah.
killing it and having money and going on wild vacations, and she only works 6 months out of the year. I mean, how cool would it be if all of your favorite people only worked 6 months out of the year?
Yeah.
So I'm over here, so, winning awards for getting myself to a place where I only work 6 months out of the year. But the part that's being missed is, have I helped anybody else do it too? Like, and I think that's a part of my next piece is, instead of me doing it, how can I, there's so much. Like, why don't more of us do it? And then maybe I have somebody to go to lunch with.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's the
I
end.
have to go on a
That's
cruise.
the end goal is to
Yeah.
have that other person to go to lunch with. No,
Yes.
but I love you phrasing it like that, and I've like loved this discussion with you, um, because it is about bringing other people with us, like along the way, and um, and your whole career, you are actually trying to do that to people, to bring other people in different ways along on this ride with you. Um, and I think that that is so, that's, I hate to use the word leadership because sorry, that's my dog. Because everyone uses the word leadership. But that really is what it's about. It's about bringing people with you.